Shall we go ahead? I'm going to chair the meeting, and I'm happy to have anyone chime in with whatever they think should or should not be done. But it's 4:06, I guess. Meeting is called to order, and everyone has a copy of Bruce's agenda, I believe, or has seen it. And I'm open for comments about the agenda corrections, or shall we go ahead and approve it as written?
I have one question about the agenda.
Yes.
We
Yes, John.
talked about the 5-year plan and it was in the minutes, but I don't see it on the agenda. Am I wrong?
I don't see it either, so it should be included under old business.
Old business?
5-year plan, that's old business, right? Very old.
Hi, John.
Hi,
Professor Kumbler is here,
yes.
and Evelyn's iPhone. Okay, Bob, is your sound on? No,
it's
you're
not.
muted. You can unmute yourself. I think we can all be unmuted unless someone's dog starts barking or the phone rings or whatever. So, okay, anything else on the agenda? I would welcome a motion to approve it then with the addition of 5-year plan under old business.
I so move.
I second.
Okay, favor? Aye. Okay. All right, so the minutes from last month, there were some corrections, I think, and those have been added out. So any comments or questions? And thank you so much, Peggy, for doing it.
Well, Tom, as you will see, the price that you have to pay is I'll probably ask a lot more questions now.
One of the things that might be helpful if we have information from various liaison reports that is longer than, just a few comments. Sometimes the individual that delivers that report can send it to you so you don't have to write everything down. And that's been helpful for me in the past. It hasn't been a big deal lately. I mean, the reports have been fairly short, but sometimes there's a lot of things that goes on in these groups, and it's helpful to have the direct quotes from the person who gave the report.
That would be very helpful, Tom. Thanks for that. So I may ask some of you, if you're giving your reports, if they seem to be a little more involved, to send me something in writing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have nothing specific from the vice chair, and Bruce didn't mention anything as far as chairman. We all know that today he has already had his heart cath, and as Lynn has noted from Maddie, I guess, did not show any coronary disease. So we'll wait and see what the next step is for him. Certainly all wish him well.
Excuse me, Tom, did we actually approve the minutes?
Did we approve the minutes?
I don't think so.
All right. Would someone like to move that we approve the minutes?
I so move.
Do I hear?
Second.
Okay, all in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Okay, so, all right, so we'll move on then. As I say, nothing new from the chair or vice chair specifically. Let's, anything from property management, Fred? You and I went out and checked a couple of properties there.
Fred's on me.
Fred, you're not,
You're
your
muted.
mic's not on. You're muted.
When did that happen? Yes, added 3 or 4 more properties to inventory this past month. And several more to go, finding some trash on some of them and picking them up where it's easy. We'll have to go back for some that's a little more difficult to get at.
Well, it would seem that all the leaves are down and the sky is gray right now. And it's easier to see if there's stuff to be seen out there at this point, so. Okay, anything else on that one? Trail guides. Ms. Southey.
I checked over the trail guides and the supplies I had because if you remember, Denny, I was going to get back to you about which were the ones that would need to be printed next. And of the 7 trail guides, the one with the least left, and it's a little under half a box layer, so about a quarter of a box, is Box Turtle. Box Turtle, and then Drummer Cove, we have like a quarter box, and the Story of the Outer Cape, we have a whole half a box. And then the other 4 are pretty full. They were, when did we get them? Actually, Clover and Walker we ordered in 2018, and Bayberry and Fox Island in 2019. So we have plenty of those. And there's no need to have anything printed at the moment because we have 88 full packages besides all these that I mentioned. So I don't know, is that helpful from a point of view of which maps to do first?
Yes, it is. And we're starting the process today. We actually started with a redo of the Clover one, but we're going to do Box Turtle to redo is going to be easy. And the rest are pretty easy. Our mapper is really something else.
The Box Turtle is the one we have the least of.
Well, I'll make sure that gets done probably next week.
Okay. But I don't see any point in getting reprints at the moment, but.
No, you decide that, but
Right.
if you have the write-ups in MS Word or whatever, I'd love to get a hold of those because there are a couple things that are not quite right anymore.
I'm happy to change them
Okay,
if you tell me what.
all right. Well, I guess we'll scar up what we have and send it to you by scan. But for instance, the Bayberry Hill one talks about an open space or something. That's not true, but we haven't really focused on it, but I think we want to know. And we also have the write-ups on our website. So
Right,
we'd like to make
right.
sure they're consistent.
Okay. So what should we do about that? The Bayberry, the printed one, I mean, I don't think we can change for a long time.
And you don't need to, but if we're going to put it on our website, we can update it.
Okay. So you want me to send you the Word, whatever I have it in, which I think is Word?
Yep.
Okay.
I know Bayberry is one, and I think Box Turtle we need to do a little tweaking on. And we're going to have some others where I think we need to get it documented so you guys can look at it along with Conscom. But there'll be recognition of a couple of trails that have occurred naturally. And so it'll change the trail length and all that sort of stuff.
So the way I have them is in the format of the folded
That's great. Yep. 3
columns. Okay.
Great.
Turtle and Bayberry you want.
Sorry.
You want Box Turtle and Bayberry.
Yes.
Trail.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks like John's got something.
Does the Chamber of Commerce come up with one of those things they hand out at restaurants and things with just about the town of Wellfleet, has list of restaurants and businesses and everything? Do they still have that? No, they used to.
That booklet.
Is it possible that we could just put not our description or anything, but just the maps of the trails in that brochure or that whatever it is? So that if people pick up the, Wellfleet thing at the, at Moby Dick's or something, in the back of it, it has our trails. They don't need the whole description or anything, just the the name and the layout of the trail and the location. Is that?
Are you thinking of what the map is on the interior of the folder?
Yes.
Well, I should
Yes.
think so. We can pretty
In terms
that.
of getting the greatest, I'm thinking of a person coming into town who doesn't, who's visiting for a week or 2 weeks. What are the odds they're going to pick up the trail guides that we have at the library and things versus picking up that thing? And then it's in their house and they go, well, what are we going to do? It's not a beach day. And they say, well, maybe one of these trails that they have in the back of the brochure.
They do have the trails in the Chamber of Commerce information thing.
Right, but this is different.
Yeah.
This is something that is fairly widely distributed across the town in restaurants and in the Chamber of Commerce. We always used to pick one up because it has a simple map of the town of Wellfleet in it, and the telephone number for restaurants. But
Well, even if it was simply somewhere in things to do, hiking and trails, and then listing them, and then reference to the Conservation Trust website for some more details or something like that. You're not talking about having the trails outlined on the Wellfleet map, are you, John, or are you?
not on, I'm thinking of, I don't know if this is feasible, but it seems to me that what we have in the trails we have in the brochure, in that is information about the trail and blah, blah, but they also just have the trail. So I was wondering if we could just take that part and put it in the brochure, because it would be something that people would see. The fact is, I lived in Wellfleet forever and I never, since '86. And I don't think I picked up the brochure from the library until maybe 5 years ago. Because it's just, but I picked up that little Chamber of Commerce thing every year. We got a new one.
So
And
John, you're talking about this little booklet?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we put it on, when we rented years and years ago, that used to be on the table when people came to the house. And if we could get our maps in that, I think it would get a lot more reach. I don't mean to make more work for people. I'm just throwing this out as a thought.
There's 7 trail guides plus the one for children. So each one has a full map inside, fairly detailed. I don't think it would work to shrink it too much.
I think it's a great idea, John, to get more coverage, more publicity for the trail, the trails. And I'm wondering, like, there's this map. Could the trails be at least noted on here for information, or for trail maps go to I guess that would be the Wellfleet Conservation Trust site.
Or just
Right.
say, you know, trail maps are available at the library,
Library, yeah.
the beach sticker place.
Or maybe we need our own map. They have the one for the bike trail for the Cape Cod National Seashore. You know, I don't know whether we could doctor up somebody
Could
else's
be
map.
maybe this one, the inside of this, the sleeve that holds the maps lists
That would, yeah,
them and point, you know, with points where they are on the map. That wouldn't be,
Have a lot of really nice trails, and I think 90% of the visitors to the town have no idea.
Let me see if I can mock up a map and get it to you by the next meeting.
that'd be great.
great idea.
Would you
While I
base it
have
on
the
this?
floor, when, Denny, do
Essentially.
you think we're gonna get a trail and that new property that you guys got out on the Quest?
Yeah, we're still mapping it out, actually.
That's a great thing, by the way. Congratulations.
Well, that's a great segue into the next section.
I'm just,
Well,
Just one thing,
yeah. If I can, there is a page 27 in this year's, that is Explore National Park, Audubon Sanctuary, Walk Wellfleet Dunes, and it lists there, the fourth item is Wellfleet Conservation Trust Trails. Check the website for date. Oh, well, that's for the annual walk, wellfleetconservationtrust.org. But there is currently one page that talks about the trails, but they're all the trails in town, whether it's Cape Cod National Seashore Historic Society, but they're more guided walks they're talking about as opposed to self-exploration, which I think, John, you're trying to encourage, which I think is a great idea.
one more thing on trails. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The school is operating, so it would be a good place to make sure that there are trail guides there.
At the school?
The school, which there always has been, trail guides at the school. And
No.
well, maybe I put them there then.
I have never put them at the school.
Well,
Huh,
I think it would be a good place to put them there now because that's the one thing that's functioning in town. And so parents and kids might want to pick them up.
where did you put them, Bob?
In the front office, I gave it to the person there and
Okay.
they pulled it right out.
So Bob, the school is in session, but what about the elementary school? That's kind of on hold for this year, isn't it? Or is it? The
No, it's-
program?
Oh, the program of walks?
Yeah,
you
the third, fourth, and fifth graders. You know,
Yeah,
that
I
you've done.
don't, I have to call her sometime soon, but can't see that they'll be able to do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, it would seem.
To have a group going out with adult supervision and so forth. You know, it seems like there are too many things that they could encounter and nobody knows what's going to be happening since the virus is spiking again. But so I doubt that it will go through for this year. But I don't know. I will
Yeah,
check.
Bob, which school did you put the trail guides at?
The only one there is, the Wellfleet
No.
Elementary School.
I thought maybe the middle school, no?
No,
Okay.
it's Wellfleet Elementary.
okay, can we move on? Wellfleet Conservation Trust. Denny, can we give that to you?
I know a little bit. We've been on a real run here. We just closed 3 more deals in within the last month. On Bayberry Lane, there are 2 lots down there. And that we acquired from the Butterfield estate. We had a very small lot in Old Wharf Point off of Bond Street that we acquired a bargain price. And then we had a donated lot up in the North Wellfleet. We're trying to put a package together to put on our website to talk about these. And so there is more information. Tonight, I have to attend the select board meeting, and we'll be talking about a 3.65 acre CR on some of Janet Reinhardt's property.
Oh, wow.
And that'll be the final thing. John has seen that through the Conservation Commission. So that's all lining up pretty well. So we also have just finished up a redo of the big map that is on our website and that we use as a promo thing on many of our activities. You can go to our website and see the new map. It's updated for all of your properties and all of our properties and Audubon and everybody else. So it's really pretty.
Does it have, does it list all the town-owned properties, Denny?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a nice article in your latest Conservation Trust mailer about Jackie, what's her name, and the 18 acres.
Faust, F-O-U-S-E, Faust.
Faust.
Yep.
Yeah. She must be quite a woman of means, I'd have to say.
Well, that's probably true.
Anyway, it's a wonderful
Great.
thing that she did.
She's a splendid person. So,
Yeah.
with her heart in the right spot as far as we're concerned.
Fantastic. Seems to be a real win-win.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What was the second property you mentioned? Old Wharf?
Off of Old Wharf, it's a small parcel. It's the first of 2 lots, and we'll have about an acre that is in there. It's in a heavily developed area, but it abuts the Eastman property and goes down into Logie Bay. So it's got some conservation values. So.
Great.
Is anything happening with the Eastman property?
Not from us.
Yeah. That would be something worth, well, I know you've had your eye on that for decades, but.
Yeah. The family's going through transition since the patriarch died last year, and so I'm not sure what they're up to, but the next generation's taking over.
Right. And there's not exactly a lot of love lost, I guess, between some of those family members. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay out of that stuff, Tom.
Yeah. All right.
And Denny, just for clarification, did you say there's one property on Bayberry or?
Well, there's one on Bayberry and then the marsh surrounding all of Bayberry Lane. Well, I'm trying to get somebody to review what I wrote up and released last night so that, we can get it to you.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, sounds great. Friends of the Herring River, what's happening there, Lynn?
Things are moving a little slowly. They're still finalizing the permit applications with the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection for water quality certification and a Chapter 91 license, and also a permit with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers related to the Clean Water Act. John Portnoy finished a fecal coliform study, a follow-up after the one he did in 2005. Fecal coliform levels remain high, both above and directly below the dike. And it continues to show that fecal coliform will likely be reduced by restoration. Fecal coliform is what leads to shellfish bed closures, as we know. And I think that's it. I did send you all an email about the Stop and Shop community bag program. It's just for the month of November. If you buy a bag, $1 donation goes to the Friends of Herring River.
If you buy what?
If you buy a Stop and Shop bag. I did send an email out about it.
Yeah, the timing's kind of bad on that since we can't take our own bags in. You know, there's less
Well,
motivation to buy one.
That was my reaction exactly, but apparently in Stop and Shop, you can use bags.
Well, yeah, you have to bag your own groceries. So if you only go once every 2 weeks,
Well,
you're frowned upon.
that's all I have.
Okay.
And Lynn,
See,
could you send that to me?
okay, housing partnership, John, anything going on?
Lawrence Road still continues. We're getting the water situation taken care of, the lack of pressure for the backup water. That's being taken care of. We've got money for that. We also looked at the possibility of finding the property on Freeman Lane that we wanted to build a affordable house on. We were told that if we could match that with a couple other pieces of property, a developer would feel more comfortable doing maybe 3 together. We looked around and we could not find basically any town-owned land that was suitable for that. We looked at the land around the dump and the land by the sand pit, neither which seemed appropriate. So we basically still have just the Friedman lot, and we just need someone to come in who's willing to put up just a single family small unit there. Other than that, the other stuff we talked about is not really relevant to open spaces.
Okay. CPC, have they met Bob recently?
Yes, we've met and awarded our grants.
Any surprises?
Well, possibly. One of the grants is to a program for veterans where they're renovating a house for homeless veterans in Dennis. The new executive director of that program lives in Wellfleet, and they're looking, and it became clear to the CPC for the first time that this house is not just a house for people to live in, but it's part of a program to give veterans a chance to have a secure place where they undergo counseling and rehabilitation. And they have very extensive and programs for veterans, and they're looking to expand in the Outer Cape. So it was something that we decided to commit $15,000 to. So it's not specifically for Wellfleet, which is the issue, but it seemed to be such a good program, something that the state is encouraging cooperative work with other towns in the area. And it seemed that this really could be a great benefit to a lot of very deserving, needing people.
Sounds good.
And where is it located again, Jeff?
It's in Dennis.
Dennis, thank you.
Fantastic.
In addition, there's the money went to, well, every request of the Housing Authority and Partnership was granted, and money went to the Historical Society for continuation of their work.
Oh, that's good.
And there were less grants given than money coming in. So
There's money left over.
we have leftover money.
And is that because our committee has not submitted any requests?
Well, in part, I think it's very difficult to understand what the Open Space Committee should be doing now in terms of properties, because they're so expensive and there are so few of them. And how to get a decent, huge parcel is a big thing. So they're looking for something from the Open Space Committee because it's part of the requirement of the act that open space be funded every year. And we've now just about paid off our mortgage debts. And so they're looking for something big and interesting, I think. But it's hard to see how we can come up with such a thing in this nearly built out town.
I guess I'd point out that there's an additional challenge of the CPC, and that is the long lead time. And the idea that you have to go to CPC and to town meeting and all that. You can't do that unless you have a purchase and sale agreement so that the CPC knows what they're getting into.
Mhm.
So it's hard to make it all come together over such a.
We have sort of managed that in the past with help from you, from the.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep.
You putting it up and then we applying for grants. Right?
And we apply for the grants on your behalf but the idea that you have to have, what you need to have a purchase and sale agreement.
Mhm.
And that's got to be done into the CPC by what, Bob, mid of October?
Yes.
And then you have to wait until April to go to town meeting. And so it's the time span extends out.
Yeah.
What does mean
Well,
it should.
yeah, I mean, it's something that I guess we've been trying to focus on, and how we can do this. It depends on what specifically might come up as available and how we direct our efforts. I mean, I guess it has to be in cooperation with other groups, especially conservation trusts.
Yep.
Right.
Anyway, we can.
Well, we did in fact talk about the CPC on these transactions that we've just concluded, and all of them were on a tighter time schedule than could be done through CPC.
What dollar amounts are we talking about, Bob? And if we were entertaining, we were thinking of properties, what's our realistic budget for funding from CPC?
Well, I really can't answer that. It would depend on the funds available for the particular year. Each year, though, it's required that a certain percentage of the funds go towards open space, but it would depend upon how exciting the project was to people. I mean, I could see them going for something big if there was, like, big would be 250,000 or more, I would say would be a very big project.
Well, one of the features of CPC is that you can borrow against future. You can authorize it and then have the borrowings be paid off. So you're not limited to what CPC generates in a year.
That's right. So this is what happened before I was on the committee with all of the Geiger property and all the property, which is now the Pilgrim Springs and Marsh, Indian, what is it called? Fox Island Marsh properties. Yeah. Those were very exciting. That's the largest amount of land in any one project in all of the Outer Cape. And that was pieced together bit by bit, but we've been paying off the mortgage for that. And that's now just about done.
Mm-hmm. So Danny Pinto.
That was CPC.
Right. That's conservation.
Well, it's something that we need to continue to, I guess, look at options as we move along here, but okay. For the NRAB, the only thing I would suggest that people look at is that a couple of years ago, the town put up some money at town meeting for the NRAB to look at some issues regarding ways of dealing with dredging and so forth that occurs in the harbor. And so we commissioned the Center for Coastal Studies to do an analysis of the so-called black mayonnaise out there in the harbor. And it finally got done and printed, and it's out there. It's on the, if you want to read the actual report, there's a lot of detail in there that I'm not going to get into. And it was the lead author is Agnes Mittermeier, who's really a cool lady up there at the CSC. And they did lots of sampling of this stuff down in the harbor. And it turns out that maybe, I guess we've talked about this before, but she came, and if any of you heard her talk 2 years ago at the preliminary talk at the State of the Harbor conference, she liked to call it black mayo as opposed to black custard as opposed to black mayo. Black mayonnaise has a kind of a pejorative term that may be associated with human waste, arsenic, mercury, and all kinds of stuff they found in Boston Harbor, I think. This stuff that they analyzed, it turns out, is mostly silt and organic, marine organic material, which is not toxic. The colors from iron compounds. And so one of the issues that has been discussed is, could some of this be used to replenish marshes? And there are several places in various parts of the East Coast and Louisiana where they're doing so-called thin layer deposition of dredged material. And that's been discussed, and it's included in this report we're doing for State of the Harbor thing. And at any rate, if you want to read the detailed report about this, it's pretty interesting how they sampled it and everything in different parts of the harbor around the pier. There seems to be different rates of accumulation and so on. So I would recommend that people look up the report on black mayonnaise on the NRAB town website, or I think it's also available at the Center for Coastal Studies website. And then John Reel, who is the chair of NRAB, was instrumental in this 3-week State of the Harbor conference that many of us have attended. I think most of us probably have, on Saturday mornings for the past 3 weeks. A very good discussion there. And I think those reports are also available. So anyway, that's that.
Didn't they give a presentation on that?
Pardon me?
The State of the Harbor conference, I saw, I think it was this last Saturday.
Right.
A presentation on the black custard and the scanning of the water. I'm trying to think who gave it.
Well, it was the chief up there. What's his name? Borelli or something like that.
Borelli gave the.
He mentioned that in his discussion of the mapping and so forth of the harbor and the loss of marshlands and that kind of thing. So anyway, and they're they're also going to be involved in a study of some of the documenting what the marine population of shellfish and fin fish and everything out there is. It's sort of based on a report that was done like 20 years ago, so-called Curley report, the name of the guy who did the report. And the CSC is going to be trying to replicate that and see how things are changed since then. And anyway, they're going to be looking for money for that too, of course. All right, let's move along, guys. Old business now. Bruce has on here status of the warrant article 3014. I think what he meant was the property, the map 3014. Am I right on that? I
Yes.
think so. And I'm not, there has been some discussion whether that property should be protected or not. There's been concern about its proximity to the power lines, and I don't have, I'm not sure that I have a actual map of this.
Is that the one right on LeCount Hollow Road?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Where on the count?
What's that?
Right,
Where
past-
on the count?
it's under the power lines, right past on the right side.
As you
Up
go
the
to the
count.
beach?
It's where the guys have been hanging from helicopters lately.
Right. That's, I didn't realize that was,
Actually, isn't that the property that the folks wanted to buy for their neighbors that he's talking about?
Oh, is that
For their
3014?
Daughter.
Yeah,
Okay,
which one?
It's off Kincaid Street, which is a cul-de-sac off
Right.
so this is not the power line property.
no.
Okay,
It's, well, there's the property, the power line is across the street, up,
Right.
on the same side as the South Wellfleet General Store. This is the one on the
North side. North.
North side.
PB side.
okay,
And
And the
it's
power
one
line
that
does-
Fred said the family wants to buy the property for their, I think, daughter.
The
And
power
there
line
is
does
some
go
issue
over,
with there are some issues with the power lines, Fred.
Yes.
and I thought that this was something that we had kind of shied away from because of issues that were,
Right.
seemed like a lot going on, but
This is the one where we wrote a letter to the select board explaining our concerns and it, because we don't have a valuation for the property,
right.
to sell it without knowing what the fair market value is.
And I
And we
think,
also questioned Mesa, whether there were
I
any
think-
endangered species.
I think where that stands is that Bruce has tried to offer your services
Mhm.
to the select board to get Mesa to come out and inspect the property. And I don't believe the select board has said go on that. So, and I think it's just gotten lost in all the other stacks with the
Well,
change.
and apparently, since the COVID issue, it's been difficult to
Right.
either contact or arrange for a visit by the state. And so I'm not sure.
But we really have no progress or update on that.
Right. Okay. All right, so we have the 5-year plan, and Lynn, I know you expressed some interest in at least organizing a subgroup of people on this in the committee. Do you know where that's going, or?
It's not going very far at the moment. Bruce had sent a letter to Doug asking various questions related to getting going with the plan again and getting some guidance from Doug. And I've seen no response to that. I did send an email to Bruce asking about it. Fred, did you hear anything?
I can add that Doug did respond, and his response was basically that we should get a consultant to work on this and actually to write it. He said that's the best way to make sure it gets done in a timely way.
Could you forward that email to me? I don't know why I was left off it.
Yeah, I think I can dig it out. I don't think it's in my trash, but it's, I think
Okay, and then given
I can also add that Bruce gave me a lot of material on what's been done in the past, because you know, I hear you guys talk about this open space plan for a while now, and I didn't really know what it was all about. So now I've had a look at the prior open space plans and the deficiencies in the last one. The last one was done in 2014, and it was given provisional approval, but we couldn't use it to apply for any funds until we amplified on some deficiencies in it. And it was quite a number of them. I think that that is basically the kind of thing that needs to be taken into account in writing a new plan. One thing that was deficiency was lack of participation, or lack of information about town participation in this plan. And so in response to that, I guess a questionnaire was put out for townspeople to respond to on a number of questions. And I think they got something back like close to a couple hundred replies. But that was done in 2015. And so if that, I don't know, that's probably still going to be an issue, providing evidence that the town has been involved and supports what you're proposing.
My background's in market research, so that's something I could help with if we need to do a new survey.
well, we should look at the whole package, Peggy. Fred was going to pass it on to me. It was pouring with rain yesterday, Fred, so I didn't see. Did you get my email?
Yeah, I did. And I wrote you back. I said, I'll give you a call.
Oh, you did? What's going on with my emails?
You have to look at it.
I'm wondering if it's in junk. I need to check that. So,
So
interesting.
when Doug suggests we get a consultant,
And Bruce says that he's been assured there would be some money for that. So
There's
that's
supposed
what
to
I
be a
want.
grant for something. That was in that email he was asking Doug about getting the grant to help write it.
yeah,
So that's where we,
it's quite an undertaking. It's quite a job. It's
we should,
got something like almost a dozen different categories of things that you have to write about. I have a copy of the.
so we should try and have a meeting, little committee meeting on it. Do you agree?
Yeah, we've got to pass this stuff around because we can't really sit down at a table and look at it at the same time. We're going to each have to have copies of stuff.
So I'll get it next, right?
I'll pass it on to you just as soon as you are going to be available.
Okay.
Is it something that could be distributed as a PDF or something, or is
I think
it?
it's a lot of different documents, isn't it?
There's a number of different documents. There's this is about about a 10-page outline of what has to be in the plan. The last plan that was submitted, 2014, must have been well over 100 pages. I don't know, let's see.
Wow.
It's, well, it's that thick. And it's got maps and tables and all sorts of stuff.
That's a document from the state's website. So, John, you're on.
Yeah, I think we should come back to this issue about getting hiring a consultant to do this.
Sorry about
A
that.
lot of work in the weeds. I think we keep kicking this ball down the road. I'm sorry about the mixed metaphor here. But it would be nice if we could just, move forward to find, I know APCC does some of this stuff. There's other groups that's what they do. They hire professionals and they do this stuff and they write it up, and they know what the state's looking for and how to present it in a way that the state will be happy, and we'll get this done. I think, we're amateurs and it's just going to take us a lot more time than I think we should explore getting a professional to do it.
I agree, and that's what Doug said. He said, there's people that you could get this done, and he said that's the only way to go. But
I know that there are sources through the Massachusetts Land Trust Coalition of lists of people who do this sort of stuff. So that's available. But I think also you'll find that the state's requirements have mutated a little bit, and it's been a while since we've been looking at that. So I think you need, as John's saying, let's get somebody to focus on it.
What, any idea what sort of figure one would expect to have to pay for a consultant to do this?
Again, I don't know, but I know Conservation Commission has had some consultants in to help us on our regs. And I think if you call Doug and ask him, give us an idea, what's a ballpark, who would you suggest we talk to? Doug could probably move this forward for us.
Yeah, okay.
Doug's
Okay,
on vacation this week.
all right, so
Next week.
This week's almost done. You mean this week or next week?
Well, okay, the next 7 days, I believe he's not available.
okay. So we'll pursue those things, and you guys, I guess we'll each look at the document and then try to figure out if we can get Doug to help us out to find a consultant and go from there.
Benny, who did you say? Massachusetts Land Trust Coalition?
Yes. That's a coalition of all the land trusts, and they have an office in Sudbury. And they have a listing of people who will do that sort of work. So I'll get
who would one contact there?
I'll get a listing for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is maybe something that isn't going to be settled in one meeting, but it's something we've been discussing off and on over the various last several meetings. There is coming up with criteria for land preservation, and we sort of have an idea of what we're doing when we look at property. And Bruce, I guess, wanted to look at these two systems. One that's done by that recommended by recommendations for land conservation priorities that I think the CPC uses. Has everyone looked at these? Bruce sent them out.
The ones that Bruce just sent out are the ones that we have used to use it to generate a computer map of priority parcels.
Right.
And they are data that are on the GIS system. And so it can be done that way. But you get bogged down in the details, but the general concepts are there of, is it near other conservation property? Is it near the water? Is it near sensitive grounds, whatever? So it's really just an overall thinking thing. I think it's very difficult for anybody to, although trusts and open space committees do score properties with their own scoring system. So
Benny,
Well,
did you see the other list that we currently use and that the CPC uses?
well, that came from your committee, from John.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I have an email
right.
from Dan Plowey to CPC giving them the list we used. And it's
Well,
pretty much the same as the current one.
Right, and the only thing was the one that Bruce sent out. There's a list of 9 criteria, all of which are things that we, are familiar with: preservation of threatened resources, water, so forth, wetlands, habitat, and then the thing that John Portnoy wanted to add to it was to acquire fee simple title on conservation easements to properties in tidally restricted coastal floodplains. You've seen, has everyone seen that?
Yeah.
And it's just an addition to the other criteria. I don't know, it seems as though we've been kind of basing our approach to these on the CPC criteria without the need for a scoring system like the Conservation Trust uses. Does that make sense? Or
Yes.
If I can correct you, we don't use a scoring system.
Yeah.
We did a study that used a scoring system.
okay,
But it's just,
all right,
it's
all
an
right.
overview.
Yeah,
I agree that the criteria we have now, which, as Denny said, came from open space to CPC, is good. I like John's addition as well. Although I'm not quite sure what fee simple title means.
Well, I think those words, well, fee simple means you own the dirt.
Okay.
And all the rights that go with it. And I think probably, Tom, when you were reading, that John was saying fee simple or a conservation.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Which is a conservation
Is
restriction.
this or? Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's a good one, I think.
Okay.
Was it?
Well, I don't know that there's any action that needs to be taken other than, maybe agreeing to have John's point added to the list of criteria that we have used previously.
I think that's good.
Okay.
I
Well-
also have a list. I just wondered if others have it, or Denny, maybe the Conservation Trust. It's dated June 2005, and John Portnoy gave it to me. And it's well-free properties containing or adjacent to salt marshes. It's a long list of, and a lot of it, some of them have been acquired and for open space already. It's a long list of properties. Anyone else have this? Do you know, Denny? Besides
Well,
John? Sort of like.
Yeah, we've seen it. And I can only comment that I think that all of this discussion of criteria is a good background thinking, but you're going to be motivated by what is available.
Right.
And it's really an opportunistic, and when you have an opportunity, you got to look at what it is and keep all those criteria in mind.
Sure.
Right. I mean, it seems as though from a practical standpoint, what what a good piece of property is going to be. And, it's good to have these criteria to kind of look it over, but,
Well, it helps in the sales pitch.
right.
I think
John
John
wants to
had a
say something.
And I
comment.
think
Yeah.
that the criteria becomes much more relevant if we move back to the point that Bob made much earlier, which is if we're going for a big CPC grant for a big piece of property, then this criteria becomes much more important.
Right.
Otherwise, I think Denny's right. It's catch what you can.
And
Oh.
it does seem, if we were trying to decide between the two criteria that Bruce sent us, that if we are working so closely with CPC, that we would use the criteria that they're using. That would certainly simplify and it would reinforce decisions that we make.
And we have been using that, I
Yeah.
think.
Right.
I did have a couple of questions though about the CPC list, which was really our list, I guess. And I tried to do some comparisons between the open space matrix scoring method. And I noticed in item 5 under the open space or CPC, preserve special and unique vegetation, but there's no reference to wildlife there. Would we want to expand? So it seems rather exclusive to just mention vegetation. The statement above, number 4, you protect shellfishing and wildlife habitat, but again, it's not actually protecting wildlife. So I'm just, it seems like we're.
I don't get that, Peggy. I would think wildlife habitat is protecting wildlife.
It's protecting, but it's not. Well, I guess you're right there. Yeah.
There is something called Biomap 2,
Yeah.
which is done by the state, and it's wildlife and plants,
Yeah.
vegetation.
And yeah, and 6 has provide links for wildlife corridors.
Yeah, but the links, I think, are a separate issue. I mean, I'm just
Right.
wondering, 4 and 5, are they redundant? Could they be combined? Is there?
Well, I think shellfishing is unique to Wellfleet.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I'm not clear about criteria number 9. I don't see it as a criteria unless I'm missing something. It says educate the population regarding the benefits of conservation and the relationship between excessive growth and groundwater quality, waste, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That wasn't on the original list that I have from 2013.
I had the question too about that, Fred, because that seems to be more of a mission statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's not really it doesn't
It's not-
seem that it fits, that it establishes a criteria for property that you might be interested in.
And is educating the population one of our charges? I mean, what have we done? Well, actually, I guess through the school work that Bob is doing.
Well,
And-
it is one of our charges, but whether it
Not
is,
way we choose open space.
yeah.
I'm just wondering to what extent we are actually promoting, publicizing that. Is that something we should be more active in?
Well,
we used
a
to
while
have-
ago,
Hmm?
Jan Plowy organized a function at Preservation Hall.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Yeah.
Yep, okay, so that certainly was under the auspices of Open Space Committee, and I thought it went reasonably well. But I'm gonna have to excuse myself, so sorry to leave your meeting.
Well, okay, Denny, we have to move along here. I mean, basically, we're the one discussion issue that Bruce wanted people to think about again was the Sewell's gutter area, and then the properties out on
Indian Neck.
the beach, Indian Neck beach, or Indian Neck, basically. And I guess there was some discussion with Hillary and with Suzanne Thomas, and both of them seem to think that, well, go for it. I mean, there's no reason not to protect those properties. And am I understanding that right, Denny, before you leave?
Yes, yes, and Bruce reported that at our meeting yesterday, saying that he had had conversations with Hillary and with Suzanne, and that they were both in support of trying to do something out there. That to me comes to very high in your priorities.
So then, you know, we've already chosen to protect properties that are listed in the, you know, in the agenda here and in previous minutes, out some marshland and so forth. The question is, do we want to add additional properties to our next town meeting warrant request?
What is the deadline for that, Tom?
It's coming up soon. If it hasn't passed already.
For the 2021 town meeting?
Yeah.
So the town administrator should be sending out requests for articles probably after the new year. I think if you look at the schedule that was approved by the Board of Selectmen on the 27th of October, there's a town meeting schedule. It's on their page on the website. That would tell you when those requests should be coming in, the deadlines. But I would think after the new year, Maria should start really hammering that down.
I think Bruce wanted us to vote on that today.
Did he?
Yes.
I think he did. He wanted to vote on this.
I move that we submit these new properties with our request for conservation land from the town, at town meeting.
Second.
Okay. All right, so we're talking specifically about map
28, map 28.
80, 82, and 239 on map 28.
Right.
Okay, that's the Indian Neck property. And the other one is
Map 28.
28, 234, and 235.
35.
Correct.
So is that your motion, John, that those
Yes,
two?
that's right,
Okay.
correct.
So we have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion of this? Things like we've discussed it a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, all in favor of
Add it to-
protecting these properties with the next warrant?
We
Okay.
need to have a voice vote on this.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, aye.
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 Aye. All right. On a vote of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 0, it passes. Okay, so we can
Six.
get that
Six.
organized.
It's 6-0.
Am I missing
Right.
somebody? 1, 2, 6-0. Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
sorry about that.
All right.
I have a hard time counting over 5, you know.
Ran out of
Let's-
finger.
What comes after
All right.
6?
Good luck. I think that's a good move.
Okay, Denny, thanks.
Thanks,
And-
Kenny.
Thank you.
Sydney. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion of potential properties, or shall we?
Can I quickly go back to the criteria for land preservation? Did we make
Yes,
any decision? Are we?
well, I think the general feeling was that we would continue to use the CPC criteria with the addition of John Portnoy's additional criteria, and then possibly, I don't know, you know, if this requires a vote or not, but possibly eliminating number 9, which really doesn't seem to be a criteria.
Well, now, there was a reason that we put that in. And is this supposed to be just the criteria for land acquisition? Or is it supposed to be more generally the goals of the committee?
It says on Jan's one, it says the list the OSC has provided to CPC as its evaluation tool is modified from the 2005 OS plan in Appendix G. We can, of course, add to this, but I find it simple yet inclusive. That one does not have this number 9.
I think number 9 is clearly an introduction. It's not a criteria.
Yeah, I think the goals or the mission of the Open Space Committee is stated in other documents, and this is more or less it was my impression anyway that this was a way of looking at potential land acquisition, but
it certainly looks like goals as well, the goals of the open space to protect fishing, to preserve threatened resources, you know.
yeah.
But
I have
what
a
are we
feeling
calling
that-
the document? Is the document our goals, or is the document a criteria that guides our decisions? And if it's a document to guide our decisions, then I think number 9 does not belong.
I'm going to make, just because I don't want the conversation to go on forever, I'm going to make a motion supporting Peggy's suggestion that we remove for this particular document, which is the criteria for evaluating the putting land in conservation, that we eliminate 9.
Second,
Further discussion?
So does it say that this is supposed to be criteria for selecting land?
It calls it a needs list to guide priorities.
Need assessment.
That's what CPC uses it for.
Well, this was ours is always used as a model for everybody else. They say, she always says we did it just right. And I think
Yeah, let's not mess it up.
this came totally from our committee, though, not from the CPC. But the needs assessment is different than a criteria for buying land.
It's what needs list to guide priorities is what Mike had in his email.
So it is a priority.
but not in selecting properties for open, for
Because
conservation.
where does it say it should only be about selecting properties?
Well, we don't know. How does CPC use it? Because that's their needs list to guide priorities.
Land conservation priorities.
So that doesn't say that it's only in terms of purchasing land. What are our priorities?
And they're discussing this at their next meeting, 12/18.
Who is?
CPC, that's what this email that Bruce forwarded from Mike Fisher.
Yeah, that was last year, Lynn.
Well, he's
The memo was dated
to us now.
2019.
Yeah, but that's what Bruce had in the email that had this whole thing that we're discussing.
Well, we have a motion that the number 9 be eliminated and seconded. So do we want to vote on this, or I mean, it may be we'll have to go back and review what the criteria, the mission of the Open Space Committee actually is. And it includes all of these things, plus education, I would assume, but.
But I think, the Bruce says is its recommendations for land conservation priorities.
Well,
So I think I agree that that doesn't belong there, the number 9. And
all right. So let's just, shall we just vote on John's motion? All in favor of proceeding with the list as is minus number 9 and
And
maybe
with the-
plus Portnoy's
Don Portnoy's.
complaint. All right,
I'll vote
all in favor?
aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye, or
Okay.
nay.
Nay, all right. Bob, let's talk more about this the next time and maybe try to refine what our actual goals and things are. So, all right. I think we're we're reaching the point of no return here. No. Is there any
make
other
progress,
items that we
Tom.
need to discuss at this point? I think we're,
I move
a
that
lot
we
of these
adjourn.
things,
did we adjourn?
all right,
Second.
looking at my, if you would indulge me for 1 second, I just want to try one thing before we adjourn, okay? I want to put up a map and see if it works, okay? Hang on a second. Finder, desktop. No, it's not gonna work. All right, next time.
What's it to do with?
There's a way that you can screen share, but I don't think I have the right material out on my desktop to do it, so.
What topic were you wanting to do?
Just looking at the map of the properties that we just voted to protect, but everybody's seen those. Incidentally, the map book of all this is on the town website. If you go to Town Assessors Map, Google it, and all that stuff is in there, and you can bring it up and enlarge it, so you don't need a microscope to get down to your map and see where lot 14 is, for instance.
Good to know.
So anyway, any other comments, concerns, business?
Fred, would you please forward the email response Doug gave to me? Because I didn't receive it.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody ready to go home? Everybody is home.
Move to adjourn.
Okay,
And
second,
I second.
and then we'll meet next month and Bruce will resume his able command and I will sit in the background again.
Fred, can you give me your phone